So I thought I'd make today's video about all the Biden documents that have been found in his home and the University of Pennsylvania, where he had his office during his campaign. Kind of weird, to be honest. I mean, it's just I don't understand it personally, but you have all these documents popping up. I think four separate instances that we're up to now, where Biden's been having documents back to his Obama days. I think in places where they really shouldn't be. I don't know. It's just kind of weird when you consider the fact that there's a similar scandal going on with Trump. But yeah, I pulled up some sources and just kind of want to go through some of the stuff. So, first one we got is from NPR, and they're giving a brief summary of what they think people need to know about the documents. I don't know. This is kind of strange to me that there's an entire investigation over these documents and that Biden isn't going through the same thing. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that personally. I also don't understand why it is that this stuff is coming out and why the DOJ, which seems to be a weaponized political entity, isn't. Well, I guess it's not surprising that they're not going after Biden. That kind of makes sense if they're a weaponized entity and it's being used for a Democrat establishment kind of thing. It's pretty frustrating, though, in some respect, because you keep seeing people who are claiming that Trump kept those documents illegally or that he was obstructing investigations, but that doesn't make sense at all when you read the sources about this stuff. I mean, from Business Insider, going back to around the time that this raid happened, they clearly state that these lawyers were receiving instructions, and I'm assuming that these instructions are coming from the National Archives. I pulled up the source that they were talking about. It's from a tweet from Caitlin Collins, and yeah, Trump's lawyers got a letter asking to secure the room. He put a padlock on there. No, that's not it. That's not it. There we go. Yeah, the National Records Agency or the National Archives. Yeah, National Archives and Records had ongoing communications with the representatives of former President Trump throughout 2021. I don't know. It's just, well, I do know it just reeks of some level of corruption or a political hit job. Basically, this whole stuff that's going on between Biden's documents versus Trump's documents. I mean, it's the 15 boxes that Trump had. He was willing to turn over. It's not as though he was trying to keep it all this a secret. His lawyers were in active communication with the national records. I don't know. You just look around the internet and you just find so many people who are. I don't know. That Trump derangement syndrome still has a pretty strong hold on a lot of people, I guess, where they just want to instantly assume that somehow he's in the wrong when it's just, I don't know, he just had a bunch of classified documents. And from what I know or what I've heard, this is a fairly common thing. What I also don't get is why it is that there's a whole thing going on from the Biden camp where they're basically talking about how the documents were in a locked garage and all when his Wilmington home. It's doesn't make sense because you kept them in your garage with your car. Okay, great. It was locked. Well, it's not the most secure thing. I'm not saying that the padlock is that much more secure, but I mean, it's just at least it's in a basement, so it's a little bit harder to access. I mean, they had to put a padlock on there, which they were asked to do so. So it means it sounds to me as though Trump's documents were more secure than what Biden's were. And this whole narrative about this stuff, I mean, it just really doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense if you're assuming that the system is operating from a legal, just perspective. It makes more sense if you assume that it's operating from some sort of a corrupt angle where it's favoring a Democrat establishment and Trump is some sort of an enemy that must be destroyed. I don't know, it's just very bizarre. I'm kind of sad that the government works this way. Then you have also the issue of the fact that Biden wasn't keeping visitor logs at his Delaware home. And Business Insider says that, well, it's because it's not an official residence, but I just have a hard time believing that. I don't really know the ins and outs of how the Secret Service is supposed to watch former heads of state like the president versus vice president, but I mean, come on. I'm having a little bit of trouble believing that somehow the Secret Service didn't keep logs of it's Biden's house. Sometimes he's there. You know what? I don't understand why they wouldn't keep a log of that. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. but I don't really trust it. In addition, the Secret Service works for the president, and Biden is the current president. So there are no logs, and that means that if the Secret Service says there are no logs, and there's only two possible outcomes. One, they're telling truth, there aren't logs, which seems kind of strange considering how uptight they should be about security. Or number two, they're lying on purpose. I mean, we've already seen levels of corruption like this from other federal agencies. I mean, think back to about the Hunter Biden laptop story. The FBI had that laptop for, I don't know, about a year before it was turned over to the Trump campaign by the same dude who had it. So that's true. So I don't know. To me, this doesn't pass a smell test. It smells of corruption. It smells that something's wrong. But you also wonder, why is it all these stories are coming out about Biden's documents? And if the system is that corrupt, then why is he looking bad with all these document stories? Why wouldn't they be able to keep this, I don't know, under wraps, I guess you could say? We got a tweet here from Jesse Kelly, and it makes some sense. I don't necessarily agree with his idea that somehow Republicans aren't involved with this. I mean, it's just, I don't really trust anyone in politics. The idea that Republicans somehow don't have the spine for a political hit job, yeah, I think they would do it. Personally, though, I think this is just more of Biden's an old guy and he kind of has to go at this point. You can't leave him around. I mean, everyone thought back in 2020 that Biden wasn't going to make it past about 2 years, and we're right around the 2-year mark. I don't know. Might be about time that Biden retires. And there's a lot of speculation about whether or not he's going to run. His own party seems to be acting like he's not going to run. Biden keeps saying that he will, but I don't know. From the news stories that I've seen, it just seems as though people are saying, yeah, Biden's saying he's going to run, but do we really believe it? Not really. And personally, I mean, I don't know. Dude's kind of old. And then there's all the stuff that's coming out with Hunter Biden, where he's been receiving payments about $50,000 a month between the two of them. So that's a whole other deal. But Biden reeks of corruption. He's old. I don't think he's fit for the job. I'm honestly kind of impressed that he lasted this long. Will he make it to the end of his term? I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was all kind of interesting and worth talking about. But no, I guess I'll just go ahead and leave it there. Thanks for listening.